Hello, dear students. Welcome back to a new lecture. In this lecture, we're going to learn about adjectives. And as you know, we're done with the first semester. So this is the first week of the second semester, and this is lecture number 14. So by the end of this lecture, you will be able to identify and use the adjectives. You'll be able to use comparative and superlative adjectives correctly. You will be able to distinguish between comparative and superlative adjectives, and you will be able to use the above adjectives in different contexts, like fill in the blanks exercises, writing sentences, identifying the grammar mistakes, etc. So let's start by looking at these sentences and try to find out what are the below colored words called and what is their role. So let's look at the first sentence. Margot wore a beautiful hat to the pie eating contest. Again, Margot wore a beautiful hat to the pie eating contest. So we have beautiful hat. And then we have furry dogs may overheat in the summertime. Furry dogs may overheat in the summertime. And then my cake should have 16 candles. My cake should have 16 candles. And then the scariest villain of all time is Darth Vader. The scariest villain of all time is Darth Vader. So let's now look at the words that are colored in blue. As you can see, beautiful hat, a furry dog, 16 candles, scariest villain. So why do you think we're using these words and what is their role? When I'm saying a beautiful hat, I'm describing the hat that is beautiful. When I'm saying also a furry dog or furry dogs, I'm describing the dogs that they're looking or they are furry as the material that they have on their skin. And then when I say 16 candles, I'm describing the number of candles. And also when I say scariest villain, I'm also describing it as scariest. So what are these words called in your opinion? They are called adjectives. What are adjectives? Adjectives describe a person, place, thing, or idea. So mainly they describe the noun. They modify nouns or even pronouns. They describe the qualities or states of being of that noun. For example, when I say it's enormous, it's dog-like, or it's silly, yellow, fun, fast, these words are adjectives that are describing or modifying the nouns or the pronouns. So they're telling me about the quality. For example, this is fast, or the state of it, it's enormous. They can also describe the quality of nouns like many, few, millions, 11. They include also numbers. As you can see also here, we have enormous. This land is enormous, for example. Dog-like, yellow, colors, silly, characteristic, fun, fast. So all of these are called adjectives. Now we're starting with the predicate adjectives. In the sentences that you saw before, the adjectives are easy to spot. Why? Because they come immediately before the nouns, they modify. But adjectives can do more than just modifying nouns. They can also act as a complement to linking verbs or to the verb to be. And I will be explaining to you what a linking verb is and what is the verb to be. So a linking verb is a verb like to feel, to seem, or to taste, and it describes a state of being or a sensory experience. Let's look at this example. It smells gross in the locker room. It smells. So we have smells, we have a sensory experience here. How does it smell? I'm describing how it smells. It smells gross. So gross is the adjective. It's describing or acting as a complement to the linking verb, which is smells. And then the verb to be after is, I have that cow sure is happy. That cow sure is happy. So these are called predicate adjectives. Predicate adjectives can do more than just modifying the nouns. They can act as a complement to the linking verbs or to the verb to be. So they complete them by describing them. And then we have the proper adjectives. Let's first remember what proper nouns are. We said before, as we studied in the types of nouns, that proper nouns name a specific person, place, or thing, or idea. For example, when I say it should be, the proper noun should also be capitalized. For example, when I say the International School of Innovation, all the words in the name of the school should be capitalized because it's a proper noun. It's naming this specific school. However, when I say just school, that would be any school and it wouldn't be capitalized. So again, proper nouns name a specific person or place or thing and they should be capitalized. Similarly, the proper adjectives. They are formed from proper nouns and they should be capitalized. Many proper adjectives describe where someone or something is from, usually. They may also describe the languages, the race, or the nationalities. For example, I was looking in the library for an English book. So I'm describing the book. Which book? The English book. So here it's a proper noun, English, so I capitalize it. And here the adjective is acting in the place of, not in the place, it's acting as a proper noun. So this is a proper adjective and that's why I should be capitalizing it. Let's look at the other example. The new teacher is Asian. Asian, which means from Asia, or we can say American or African. So also Africa is a proper noun, it's capitalized. So similarly, the proper adjective here, Asian, should be a proper adjective and should be capitalized. So we said that again, we have predicate adjectives and as you see, they are not capitalized and we have the proper adjectives and they should be capitalized. Now we have the order of adjectives. When I have sometimes we're describing something and we're using more than one adjective, maybe two or more, and a person might get confused which adjective to write first. So there is a rule for them and they should be ordered. So when more than one adjective is used, the adjectives follow a particular order. First, we state the opinion and then the size, then the shape. After that, the age, color, origin, and lastly, the material. However, it's not that all the time we will be using them all. Let's say, for example, you're saying an opinion, the opinion, the size, and material. So of course, you're not it's not necessary to add these. However, you know that opinion comes first, size next, and then material according to the order. So opinion, size, shape, age, color, origin, and material consecutively in this order. For example, it's an amazing table. Amazing, this adjective is an opinion. It's a big table. Big is an adjective that's describing the size. It's a round table. Round is an adjective that's describing the shape. It's an old table. Old is an adjective that is describing the age. And then it's a brown table. Brown is an adjective that's describing the color. It's an English table. English is an adjective, and as you can see, proper adjective that's capitalized, and it's describing the origin. It's English. And then it's a wooden table. Wooden is an adjective that's describing the material. This table is made of wood. Now, if I'm going to write all these adjectives about the table, how do I put them? In this order: opinion, then size, then shape, then age, then color, then origin, then material. So I say it's an amazing let's say it again. I say it's an amazing big round old brown English wooden table. All right. And here you have in this picture various adjectives like tiny, tired, ugly, worried, strong, angry, happy, surprised, unhappy, thirsty, excited, afraid, thin, thick. All of these are adjectives. Now we're moving to something that's called articles, and we use them. However, we need to learn about them. So what is an article? Articles are a kind of adjectives, and there are three articles only. The article a, the article an, and the article the, or the, depending on what's coming after it. So a, an, and the. These are called the articles, and they are a kind of adjectives. So for example, I say I'm going to this school, or this is a planet, you know, this is an oval table. So we use the a, an, and the with the nouns or before them. Now we have to divide them now. A and an are called indefinite articles, and the is a definite article. So again, we have articles that are a kind of adjectives or of a kind of the adjectives, and we use them before the nouns. And there are only three, a, an, and the. However, a and an are indefinite articles. Why? Because they refer to a noun in general. Remember, definite and indefinite. Indefinite, not specific. So a and an are indefinite. For example, when I'm saying Pluto also orbits the sun, but it's no longer called a planet. When I say a planet, any planet, not a specific planet, I'm not saying the planet. When I say the planet, in that case, I'm talking about a specific planet, and it would be definite. So a and an are indefinite articles because they refer to a noun in general. That is a definite article because it refers to a specific noun. Give me the book, for example. The book, a specific book. However, when I say give me a book, any book. So a and an again are indefinite articles, and that is a definite article. Let's look at the examples. We have the or a. Sun is the center of our solar system. Of course, we use the because there's only one sun, and we're talking about that specific sun. So the sun is the center. The sun is the center of our solar system. And then Pluto also orbits the sun, but it's no longer called a planet. A planet, any planet, not Pluto, any planet. So a planet. And then Pluto's orbit is shaped like an oval. Also, a and an are used for the in the indefinite form. Now there is something important that we need to know. When do I use a and when do I use an, knowing that they are both indefinite articles, and why there are two of them? Why there isn't only one of them? The answer is that we use a when it's preceding a word that starts with a consonant letter. So I say a planet. Planet, the first letter in planet. Let me just 1 second put the cursor and show you. So planet, as you can see here, is starting with the letter P. The letter P is a consonant letter. So I say a planet. However, an, I use it when it's preceding a word which is starting with a vowel letter. For example, like an oval. I don't say like a oval, you know, not like a or a oval, like an oval. So I use an, this article, this indefinite article, before the words that start with a vowel letter. And I use a, that's also an indefinite article, before words that are starting with a consonant letter. Now we're going to learn about the demonstrative adjectives. We have that, this, these, and those. That, this, these, and those. These four are called demonstrative adjectives. They point out people. So when I point out, I specify, for example, I want that t-shirt, or I want this book, or I'm looking at these birds, or those are mine. So I'm pointing out specific things out of other groups, or out of a group of other things. So they point out people, places, things, or ideas. They can take the place of nouns, and when they do, they become demonstrative pronouns. So again, we have what's called a demonstrative adjective. We have four of them. Let me go back. We have that, this, these, and those. Why are they called demonstrative adjectives? Because they are demonstrating or pointing out specific people, places, things, or ideas, and they can take the place of nouns sometimes. When they do take the place of a noun or replace the noun, which means I do not put a noun, I put instead the demonstrative adjective, they become what's called a demonstrative pronoun. Let's look at these examples. First, the school principal keeps lost items in this or these box. For sure, I say this because one box, singular. So the school principal keeps lost items in this box. When I say this box, I'm pointing out to a specific box. That's why this is a demonstrative adjective. It's demonstrating which box I'm referring to. Next, this or those is Jessica's lunch bag. For sure, this is Jessica's lunch bag, not those, because those comes with R. So this is Jessica's lunch bag, and it's one lunch bag. So in this case, this is replacing the noun. I didn't write a noun. I said immediately this. And this is referring to the noun. So in this case, this isn't a demonstrative adjective. It's now a demonstrative pronoun. Now we're moving to what's called comparative and superlative. We have comparative adjectives and we have superlative adjectives. Comparative adjectives compare two people, places, or things. Again, comparative adjectives compare two people, places, or things. For example, when I say Kathy is taller than Elena, I'm comparing between Kathy and Elena. What am I saying? I'm saying she's taller than her. So here, taller is a comparative adjective because it's comparing between two people, Kathy and Elena. So comparative adjectives compare two people, places, or things. For example, I use larger, smaller, faster, higher. So this is faster than this. This car is faster than this car. This house is smaller than that house. I'm comparing between two things using these adjectives, so they're called comparative adjectives. I follow this pattern when I write them in a sentence. I have the noun, which is the subject first, then the verb. So as you can see here, Kathy, the verb is, so Kathy is, I put the comparative adjective taller, I put than, so taller than, and then I put the object, which is a noun, Elena. So Kathy is taller than Elena. For example, my house is larger than hers. This box is smaller than the one I lost. Your dog runs faster than Jim's dog. The rock flew higher than the roof. So higher than, faster than, smaller than, larger than, comparing between two either things, places, ideas, people. That's why these larger, smaller, faster, higher are called comparative adjectives. Now we're moving to the superlative adjectives. Superlative adjectives compare more than two. So a group of people, a group of places, things, or ideas. So three or more, not two. They describe an object which is at the upper or lower limit of a quality. And I'm going to explain this now. Again, first of all, imagine that we have a group of people and I'm comparing between these all people. Let's say there are 5 people. So I'm comparing between them and I say, for example, Russia is the tallest amongst all the students in the class, or Kathy is the tallest in our class. So I'm comparing Kathy to all the other students. I'm comparing them all together and I say that Kathy is the tallest. So the one who has the highest height, for example, is Kathy. That's why it's called here the upper limit, the highest, the fastest, or the lower limit when I say the smallest, the shortest, the least. So they describe an object which is at the upper or lower limit of quality. So, for example, the most kind student or the kindest student in class. So I'm comparing that student to the group of the class. That's why it's a superlative adjective. And he's either or she's either the at the upper limit, that adjective, that quality is that adjective is describing the quality at the upper limit, fastest, highest, tallest, smartest, or at the lower limit, like shortest, lowest, youngest. And we follow this form. We have the noun, the verb, we have the, and then the superlative adjective, and then the noun. So I say Casey is the tallest in our class. Casey is the tallest. Remember, in the comparative adjective, I said, for example, she is taller than. She's taller than her friend because I'm comparing between two people only. However, here I'm comparing her to everyone else. So she's taller than them all. That's why I say she's the tallest. The form is changing here and I say the tallest. Now we're going to move to forming the regular comparatives and superlatives. So these are regular and there's a rule to form them. We're going to look at it. So when I'm going to form comparatives and superlatives, I need to follow the form. Depending on what that form is, that form depends on the number of syllables in the original adjective. So let's look now, before starting with the form, let's look at the syllables to know first what syllables are. These words, for example, they are formed of one syllable. I read them at once, like tall. I cannot divide, I cannot say t or ta and all. I say tall. Fat, I don't say fat, I say fat. Big, sad. So these words are one syllable words. Then let's look now at the two syllable words. Happy, happy. Simple, simple. I can divide it into two syllables. Busy, busy. Twisted, twisted. So I can divide it. I can divide these words into two syllables. That's why it's called a two-syllable word. And this is a one-syllable word. I cannot divide it. I divide it. I read it at once. And these are three. These are words that have three or more syllables, like important. Let me annotate and show you how we divide them. For example, important. I have three syllables here. If I say expensive, three syllables. Beautiful, beautiful, also three syllables. So I guess by now you're knowing what we mean by the syllables. and enormous, enormous, also three syllables. Here, happy, simple, busy, and twisted, two syllables, and here there are only one syllable. All right, so these are what syllables are. Now, after introducing to you what syllables are, we're going to learn how to form the comparatives and the superlatives according to the syllables. So there's a form for the words that have one syllable, there's a form for the words that have two syllables, and there is a form for the words that are composed of three or more syllables. Let's see now together. We're starting with the one syllable adjectives. When I say tall, tall, taller, tallest. Fat, fatter, fattest. Big, bigger, biggest. Sad, sadder, saddest. So these words here, the adjectives, tall, fat, big, sad, are composed of one syllable. I read them at once. And the rule for them is the following. We add ER for the comparative and we add EST for the superlative. For example, tall, it became taller. I only added, just 1 second, I only added ER. Fat became fatter. I added ER. Big became bigger and sad became sadder. That's for the comparative. For the superlative, I add EST. Tall becomes tallest, fat becomes fattest, big becomes biggest, and sad becomes saddest. But if we count the number of the letters, there is an extra letter. Let's see. Sad, S-A-D, and I'm adding E-R. All right, 5 letters, but here I have 6 letters. I have a letter that's being doubled. Let me show you. So if you can see here, tall, it already has a double. Let's not look at it. Let's look at this word, fat, F-A-T, all right? And then when I'm saying fatter, I'm saying T, another T, I'm doubling the T and then adding E and R. So what's happening here is that I'm doubling the last letter, which is a consonant letter. Then big, I'm saying bigger. Then sad, I'm saying sadder. You know? So what I'm doing here is that I'm doubling the last letter. Why is that? It is that when the adjective has a consonant, then vowel, then consonant, like sad, consonant, vowel, consonant, like fat, consonant, vowel, consonant. So consonant, vowel, consonant, which is CVC. What do? I double the last letter, then I add ER or EST, depending on whether it's comparative or superlative, like fat, fatter, big, bigger, or fattest and biggest. All right, so this is what we're doing. I will say this again. This is the rule for the words, the adjectives that are formed of one syllable. I only add ER to make it in the comparative, and I only add EST to make it in the superlative. Tall becomes taller in the comparative when I'm comparing between two things, and it becomes tallest when I'm comparing between a group of things. She's the tallest. She's taller than her friend. He's bigger than his brother. He's the biggest among all his brothers. She's sadder than you. She's the saddest person in this home. So you can see now what comparative adjectives are, what superlative adjectives are, and how we're changing that adjective according to each one, mainly the one syllable adjectives. Let's now clear everything and move to the two-syllable adjectives. Adjectives with two syllables can form the comparative either by adding er or by preceding the adjective with more. So I either add er or I say more. So happy, happier. For example, tilted, more tilted. So again, happy, happier, tilted, more tilted. So I'm adding mainly er, either adding er or writing more. Just 1 second. So the adjectives with two syllables can form the comparative by either adding er or writing more before the adjective. Happy, happier. Simple, simpler. Busy, busier. Tilted, more tilted. Twisted, more twisted. All right? For the superlative, we know that we add est, so I either add est or I add most. So I either say happiest, simplest, busiest, or most tilted, most twisted. Okay? Again, I add er or est, I add more or must for comparative or superlative. And if you can also realize here that there are words that are ending with the letter Y, but I'm not keeping the Y and adding ER. I'm replacing the Y with the letter I as in happy, happier. So I replace the Y with an I and then add ER, or happiest. I also replace the Y with an I and add EST. So the rule is when the adjective ends with a Y, I replace it with an I and then add what I should add. If I should add ER to make it comparative, I add ER. If I should add EST to make it superlative, I add EST. If I'm not adding ER or EST, I'm writing more or most. Of course, we're keeping the adjective the same. More happy. I don't say more happier. No. Now we're moving to the three or more syllables, which means the word, the adjective that is formed of or consists of more than three syllables, like important, 3 syllables. Here, I do not add ER nor EST. What I do here is that for the comparative, I just add more, and for the superlative, I add must before it. So important becomes more important. This is more important. My project is more important than going out with my friends. Most important. This is the most important project I have ever done. Expensive. This house is more expensive than the one we saw before. Most expensive in the superlative, I say this is the most expensive house over other houses, for example. And then beautiful, this is more beautiful than something else, or this is in the superlative, the most beautiful dress I have ever bought. And then enormous, this is more enormous, or this is the most enormous. So I either add more to make it in the comparative when I'm comparing between two things only, or I add most to make it in the superlative when I'm comparing between three or more than three things. All right. Now, last but not least, we're going to the irregular comparatives and superlatives. We said, and we know from before that what's regular, it's what's following a regular rule. We said the regular rules, I add ER for comparative, EST for superlative, I write more for comparative and must for superlative. I remove the Y and I add I instead of it, or I replace it with a Y. So I'm just following regular rules. However, some adjectives, we cannot follow a regular rule for them. they are irregular. So I need to memorize how they're changing in the comparative and in the superlative. Let's take an example to get a clear idea on them. When I say good, in the comparative, I say better. I don't say this is gooder than. I say this is better than. So I'm changing the word good to the word better. I'm changing the whole word. I'm not adding ER to good. So I'm not following the regular rule. That's why it's an irregular comparative. In the superlative, it's best. This is the best. You're the best. So best, superlative, and also I changed good. I didn't say it's the goodest. Of course, I say it's the best. Similarly, bad. I don't say badder. I say it's worse in the comparative. And in the superlative, I say it's worst. It's the worst thing. All right? Then little, also, it's an irregular adjective. In the comparative, I say less. I don't say this is littler or more little. I say this is less than this. I have two glasses of water. This one has less water. Or in the superlative, I say least. This is the glass, for example, that has the least amount of water. I don't say the littlest, for example. I say least, less and least. So we need to memorize them to be able to use them correctly. Then far. In the comparative, we have further and farther. Now, further in terms of additional, something extra, something more I'm adding, and farther in terms of the distance. All right, but these both are in the comparative. They differ in how you're using them in the context in your sentence. And then in the superlative, the farther becomes farthest, and further becomes furthest, and farther becomes farthest. All right. And then much becomes more in the comparative. I like it more than anything than anything else, or I like it the most. I don't say mucher or muchest. So these very common adjectives have completely irregular comparative and superlative forms. They do not follow the regular rules of either adding ER, EST, or most or more. All right? Let's look at these examples. For example, today is the worst day I have had in a long time. It's the worst. You play tennis better than I do. Better. All right? This is the least expensive sweater in the store. This sweater is less expensive than that one. I ran pretty far yesterday, but I ran even farther today. So you see, instead in terms of the distance, far and farther. Now let's practice. You're going to read this paragraph and underline the 20 adjectives in it. So I'm telling you already that there are 20 adjectives and you need to underline them. Let's read it together. Scary monsters are found everywhere. Some are frightening and some are strange. There are enormous hairy monsters and small fuzzy monsters. Some are imaginary, like angry trolls that live in dark, damp caves or under old wooden bridges. Others live in dense, overgrown forests and eat slimy, disgusting food. Monsters can be green, red, or black. So if you're an online student, and even if you're not an online student, take your time to do it on your own, and the answer will be presented next. Oops, just 1 second. So here, as you can see, there are underlined scary monsters. I'm describing the monsters as scary. Some are what? Frightening and strange, enormous, hairy, small, fuzzy, imaginary, angry, dark, damp, old, wooden, dense, overgrown, slimy, disgusting, green, red, and black. These are 20 adjectives used in this paragraph. Here you have also 5 adjectives. I'm asking you to write each or use each adjective in a sentence, of course, in a meaningful sentence. So here your answers may vary. And then the third one, here it should be seen at these. So you need to complete the sentences using the correct form or forms of the adjectives. So the first sentence, the Nile is one of what? You have long. One of what rivers in the world? So remember, let me do the first with you orally. The Nile is one of rivers. So I'm describing the Nile to the group of rivers. So I know it's superlative. So it's one of the longest. The and long plus est. This is what interesting book I have ever read. A spider is sometimes frightening than a large snake. Of course, I'm not answering these. You still need to do them. And Mr. Harper is, we have boring, we're going to use it here and here. So Mr. Harper is what boring teacher in the whole school. He's even what also boring than my French teacher. So we have here the answers. The Nile, for example, is one of the longest rivers in the world. So the one of the longest, because I'm comparing group of rivers together. This is the most interesting book I have ever read. Also comparing the book to all the books that I have read before. Then a spider is sometimes more frightening than a large snake. I'm comparing the spider to the snake. I'm comparing two things and I have than. So more frightening than the snake. Mr. Harper is the most boring doctor, for example. So the most boring one in the whole city. He's even more boring than this doctor. And we have a homework. They may seem like a big homework, but they're really short questions and you just need to look for the adjectives or correct them. So you have on page 101, part B, page 103, page 105, part B, page 111, part A, and page 112 from 1 to 5. This is due on Thursday, December 9th. If you're an online student, for sure you submit your homework on the English homework Padlet, and the link for the Padlet is in the description of the WhatsApp group and also for sure on the school Padlet. Where are these questions? They are in the Grammar Practice Reproducibles book that you must have already. So in that book, visit these pages and solve them. They're really easy, and I recommend online students to not only solve these pages. Whenever you have time, practice more. And of course, when you do practice more, show me your answers. Thank you for watching. I hope that everything was clear. If you have any question, this is my email and you can ask me. Thank you and have a nice day.